2023 GSX-8R. Is it the king of all nakeds? Is it better than an MT? Is Suzuki too late to the party? Stick around to the end of the video. We'll find out.
Just like blop, 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 blop. All right, 4th gear power. 2023 GSX-8R. First 30-second impressions on this thing. It's literally been a half a mile. Very first thing I noticed on the GSX-8R in terms of class in general. My feet are a little bit further forward than I expected. For some reason, when I get on naked bikes, I feel like my feet are too far back or my butt is too far forward. This seems to have a nice balance. It's also smaller than I expected. This thing, when you see it in pictures, it seems to have a very big presence.
This front end, for some reason, while I saw it in pictures and before I actually had this thing right in front of me, for some reason I felt like it was going to be taller and it was going to have a bigger, larger presence as a motorcycle, and for some reason it's not. It's very adequate for exactly what you're going to get in the middleweight naked class, but looking at it from pictures, for some reason I thought it was going to be bigger than it was, and it's not. It has a nice slender tank. The front end is still a little bit low. The tank is relatively high comparatively speaking to where it sits on the front end. You can have your own opinion on what the front end actually looks like. It just surprised me that it was a little bit smaller than I expected after having seen it in pictures. You see how tall the tank is right here? The screen is at the same level. So for some reason I expected this to be more of a this kind of shape where the tank was low, the seat was low, and the front fairing was a little taller, but it's not. It's pretty level from the tank forward, and when you're sitting on it, it kind of seems like the bike is really, really low. Actually, it looks more or less like this.
It really does feel as though it's a really small bike. It's perfect for the class, but I don't know why. For some reason I felt like that wasn't going to be the case, and it is.
The front brakes on this thing are more than adequate. The rotors are this size right here, 4-piston Nissan calipers times 2. More than enough stopping power for the size of the bike, which by the way, it weighs this much.
Brakes! The rear brake is kind of spongy, but it grabs nicely. It takes a little bit of travel, but it's light and effortless, and the front brakes on this thing are more than adequate. It's interesting because the front brakes, they feel, and it's not even just the front brakes, the front and rear brakes, they feel spongy in terms of like feel. It doesn't take a lot of effort. They feel very light to press, but they work. So strangely enough, what you get from the lever pull is lightness, as if they weren't going to stop the way they do, but they stop really nicely. The front brake has a good amount of grab, has some decent dive to it, and the same thing with the rear. It has a good amount of grab. I can accelerate here, grab a handful of front brake, the bike dives, it stops. They grab really well. The lever input is light to the point where you wouldn't think that it grabs as good as it does, and a lot of times upgraded brake pads help with that initial bite. So it may not be the master cylinders themselves, it may just be the pads themselves have a little bit of up front squish.
Now, as far as technology is concerned, this screen is crisp and clear. It is probably one of the brightest screens. I didn't have any issues while I was out riding. It is very well covered with this little black screen. You don't get much sun glare. I didn't have any issues seeing this thing at all. It is crisp, clean, clear. I like the screen. As far as other things are concerned, there's not very many buttons. Hazard, turn signal, kill switch, up and down on the modes. Yes, it has modes, but who the heck uses those? And then a horn. That is about it. There's no cruise control, no real other options. It's kind of just grab and go. Non-adjustable upside down forks of this length of travel. It is very comfortable for the naked class. I personally wish it had a little bit of adjustability, but they do a great job. They are soft and still have a cushy suspension. Actually, while I was out riding, this is what I thought.
Slow speed big sweeper here. It's light on the inputs. It holds the corner very, very well, and it has a great lean angle, man. And it just comes out of that, fires right out. That is awesome. This is a very light, nimble handling machine. It literally back and forth very easily, and it feels like it just lays flat. It's pretty planted in the corners, man. I like it. Going over this little bridge, suspension comfort. Obviously it's a naked bike, so it has long haul travel, so yeah, it's comfortable. It's a soft ride. Most nakeds are. I haven't found a stiff, uncomfortable naked. I will say that the seat itself has a nice gel cushion to it, but it's a small seat, so I personally feel like it's not, my whole butt's not completely on the seat, strangely enough. I can sit forward a little bit and it makes it a little bit more comfortable, but where I like to sit, slightly back, just a touch back. I'm not fully on the seat. There's like a weird bridge between the rear seat and the front seat where it feels kind of stiff, and that's where I'm sitting, which again, a me thing.
And you see how low that windscreen is? Now would probably be a good time for me to tell you how it feels while I'm out riding.
It's blocking everything from about right here. So kind of chest level, my head and everything above my head is in the wind. So I would say that this thing could probably use a slightly taller windscreen.
This particular bike has a Yoshi slip-on, full variety, because you can't replace just the slip-on on these bikes because I don't know. But either way, listen. But how much power does it make? How much torque does it have? And thanks to editing me in the future, it's magically gonna be right there.
Handling through this big giant sweeper. The bike is very open to input. It's light and flickable, exactly as you would expect from a middleweight naked. It holds its line really well. Obviously this is not a big sweeper, so I can't get too deep into it, but the bike is easy to handle back and forth. It's very receptive to bar inputs. Body inputs don't do too much. They don't do too much on most any motorcycle, but it's very flicky back and forth, and even 60 miles an hour it still feels like it's very flicky. So it's definitely a great handling machine that's very lightweight and light on the inputs. I really do think that it's a friendly bike. 100%, I think it's a friendly bike.
But you don't care about that. You want to know how fast it is. And well,
it definitely eats through those low speed RPMs. Eats through them. 2, 3, 4,000. It just like plop, 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 plop. It's so quick through that low speed stuff. It's very interesting, man. This engine is throaty, and that exhaust sound, it does not disappoint. Power! Oh man, this thing's a torque monster, bro. It just goes. Literally, even from low RPMs, it pulls very nicely. It's less jerky than the MT for sure. Like the MT feels like it wants to pop more wheelies. This feels like it has a more linear progressive power band. Even though they're both twins, this seems to have a little bit more stable push kind of all the way through. It doesn't feel like it's missing too much at the top, and it doesn't feel like it has as much like immediate punch at the bottom. It feels a little bit more leveled out. It's still twin, it's still fast down low, but strangely enough, I feel like this has a broader power band. Third gear, 60, let's see if it has some top end. Oh yeah! Dude, this thing carries all the way to Redline. This thing definitely has more top end pull than the MT, 100%. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That extra 100 cc's or whatever, 49, 50, whatever cc's it is, this much cc's right here that this has extra, you feel it, and it's in the right spot. It's at the very top of the range. On the MT-07, I feel like I want more at the top. On this, it's solid. Like, the power that it has in the middle matches what it has at the top. Again, this is a tuned motorcycle with an intake and an exhaust, so it is a little bit overstock, but I'm happy with that. Like, it doesn't feel like it drops off. It pulls towards the very top. Dude, this is a great power delivery. 100% this is a great power delivery. If you have a GSX-8R or 8S, because I know they're the same, tune them. Intake, exhaust, and a tune wakes the top end up. It is awesome. I will also say that these factory grips are actually pretty nice too, man. They're soft and squishy, and they dampen a lot of the vibration. Because touching here, you feel a little bit more vibration than actually touching on your hand. They have like a gel-ish feel to them, so it's nice. Mirrors are awesome. They haven't moved. I can see behind me. They're very clear. They're very wide. Yes, they may look kind of ugly from the front because all factory mirrors look a little wonky. They just look like big Dumbo ears. But using them actually from this side, which is the purpose of the mirrors, they feel really good. And we're 3,000 RPM, 4th gear. Check this out. Yeah, it goes. And then you get into the power band around 5,000-6,000 RPMs. It's a great power band, man. I like this power delivery over the MT for sure. It seems to be more towards my gearing, where you have a little bit higher RPM bias. It still has good torque down below. I can't be upset at it. Final thoughts on the 2023 GSX-8R. It's a solid naked bike. It's very light on the inputs, clutch, brake, throttle. They all seem to be very receptive, but they're all friendly. They don't seem hard, they don't seem aggressive. The clutch is actually fairly friendly. The power delivery is fairly friendly with a very good mid-range punch. The sound on this thing is a beast. It seems to have power everywhere during city riding. So it seems to be very, very powerful. It seems to have very good around town manners. Personally, I think the seat is slightly hard, but honestly not a big deal. It's very nice, ergonomically friendly with your inputs. It's a nice handling bike. I wish it had slightly more wind protection for more of a commute type ride, but as it is right now, it's perfectly fine for these spirited rides in a hot day. On a colder day, you're gonna be pretty chilly. It doesn't block the most amount of wind, but it's not turbulent either. So it's a nice, comfortable ride. I think this is a solid bike. I think this is a decent beginner bike. As long as you are somewhat confident, you can start on this bike, as long as you're not completely scared. And you know, if you have some sort of automotive juju to you, it's a fairly decent bike, and it's pretty quick too.
Thank you guys for watching. If you're in the market for a middleweight naked, check this video out right here.